Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to this episode of JJ Meets World. You picked a good one. Mike Ressl making his fourth appearance on the JJ Meets World podcast. We're going to talk about Burning Man 2019, everything that he got to experience on the way there, on the way back. Plus, Tucker and I are going to have an in-depth discussion about the Gordon family farms that I want to launch just north of Fargo, North Dakota. All of this and so much more, but first, a quick word from our sponsor. This episode of JJ Meets World is brought to you by Natalie Deutsch of Hatch Realty. Natalie has a proven track record to get your home sold faster and for more money. She is consistently focused on her clients' needs and wants throughout the entire process and make sure that they are well taken care of. If you're looking to buy or sell, reach out to Natalie today. On average, Natalie sells a home every 3.74 days. That's at least 2 a week. And last year, Natalie earned her clients on average over $4,000 above list price on their homes. And you don't have to take our word for it. Here's some of the great reviews Natalie has received. I was overwhelmingly impressed with Natalie and all the Hatch team. She was very responsive and responded to all of the emails within an hour. She gave great advice and encouragement from the listing and pictures, the offer, and all the closing details. The marketing team knew exactly how to promote my property, and I was pleased by how soon and easily my property received an offer. I was actually dreading selling my condo, and Natalie did such an awesome job that I felt like I really didn't need to do anything. The thing I most appreciated was that she really listened to what I wanted to do and respected my decisions. I would definitely recommend Natalie and all the Hatch Realty team. They made this process so wonderful. That was from Diane. So listen, if you're in the mood to buy or sell a home, give Natalie a call right now. You can reach her at 701-388-9338. Natalie, Natalie, at hatchrealtyfm.com, or you can go to livefargomorehead.com. That's livefargomorehead.com and find out some information. Huge thanks to Natalie Deutsch of Hatch Realty for sponsoring JJ Meets World.
1, 2, 3, 4. JJ Gordon, sort of like that Indiana Jones, in that he's always sniffing out his next adventure. Yes, he is. He's always interviewing guests so he can have them on his show and they can talk about pop culture, arts, and leisure. JJ has his flag unfurled and he likes his french fries curled, and he's fun and then he twirled as he goes to meet the world. He will march into the rain even if his ankle sprained. Take a peek inside his brain. This podcast is called JJ Meets World.
I want to start an orchard, like a fruit orchard. And I'm thinking about buying a piece of land adjacent to my in-laws. And so if I buy that, there's a little tiny like double wide trailer home that I'd probably get rid of and just use the space, because I dream of one day not only having an apple orchard where I can walk through and pick an apple if I want, but growing pumpkins and having a pumpkin patch for the children of the town. And
would you put a bunch of Charlie Brown cutouts in the pumpkin patch?
Yes, absolutely. And wait for the great pumpkin to arrive. Mm-hmm. And then I would also keep my bees there. What I'm really trying to say is I really want to start Gordon Family Farms. And I think that people would like it. And I think people would have a wonderful time when they visit my orchard and frolic with my bees.
What kind of products from the fruits of the land do you think you would make?
So for starters, I think, get some apple trees established. I'd like to press apple cider. But you know what nobody's doing around here, which I think they should be, is making homemade apple cider vinegar.
Okay. So
homemade vinegar is so much more flavorful than the mass-produced vinegar that you get. So when you buy vinegar, it say it includes the mother, which I believe is just the bacteria in it that creates kind of the vinegary taste and tang. And so the mother is really, really good. It's the part that makes it really good. But when you buy a giant, like 5-gallon jug of vinegar, it usually doesn't include that. Okay. It doesn't include the mother. So the smaller batches are what you're getting the mother out of. But if you make your homemade stuff, it includes so much more of that. I got a cookbook recently called the Vinegar Revival Cookbook, and it talks about all the great things you can do with vinegar. And Homemade vinegar would be one of the things I would definitely push right away, because I could take that to, imagine, those bottles that have the wire work piece and like the little stopper that you pop off. So you put that on there, and then you put a Gordon Family Farms logo on that glass bottle and charge $20 for it. I could sell the crap out of those at one of those farmers markets.
Oh yeah.
People like stuff like that.
Yeah. So obviously you'd be making honey if you have bees there.
Yep.
Would you be processing pumpkins at all in any way?
No, I think I just sell the pumpkins. I think they're decorative. If people want to buy them for some particular purpose, that would be great.
Right.
One of the big problems we have in the pumpkin industry, is people want to come and buy the perfect pumpkin, right? So they want that perfectly round pumpkin that's a little stubbier but pumpkin shaped.
Yeah.
The seeds inside that pumpkin carry the genetic information for making that look of a pumpkin. Now, there are some factors that can change that out in the field. So, for example, if it grows next to a rock, it'll kind of shape itself around the rock. But the general look of a pumpkin that's unobstructed is the seeds have that genetic makeup to make that one. Well, unfortunately, because we're always taking the beautiful pumpkins, the ones that get ground up and seeded again become the uglier pumpkins. So we're actually breeding uglier and uglier pumpkins on a more consistent basis.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
So there's a lot of stuff.
So I was thinking you could, if you've got leftover pumpkins no one's going to come get, you could harvest them for the seeds and make something of the seeds. Like I love like toasted pumpkin seeds with some seasoning on them. Whew, that is good.
Well, maybe we'll do that. I also feel like a farm festival type thing where, I invite people to come pick apples.
Right. Are pumpkins technically gourds? Or are they different? I'm sure there's someone screaming at their phone right now.
Yeah,
going, Are you kidding me? They're not gourds.
They're fruit. A pumpkin's fruit because the seeds are on the inside.
Okay.
And they have a vine-based system, right? Huh. Yeah. I think that a pumpkin's a gourd.
Okay.
So maybe that's what it should be. It should be Gordon's Family Farm.
Right.
Yeah. And it's got a little pumpkin for the O.
If you could get a scientist to give you a specific breed of like apple that you can only get there, you could call that apple a JJ.
So what I'd really be interested in is, of course, I'd want to get a Honeycrisp tree, but there's a new apple that the University of Minnesota has created.
That's right.
That's only available in certain stores right now that is like a Honeycrisp apple, only it lasts a lot longer and the skin isn't as it's not as easy to damage. It's kind of like Honeycrisp 2.0 and the flavor is a little more intense. And I can't remember what they called it, like a rain apple or something like that. But the University of Minnesota owns the copyright on that apple. And so you cannot have one of those apple trees. What I would do is I'd plant various types of apple, except for Red Delicious, because those are bullshit apples. Yeah. And the bees then would, cross-pollinate between these. So you'd end up with all these interesting apple varieties that are growing. So I think I'd be interested in that. I think I'd have a lot of fun with that. And if I was going to set that up, one of the people I would ask for help with it would be Mike Ressl, because I feel like if you ask Ressl to research something or get to know about something, you give him a week and he'll have amassed the internet's worth of knowledge, as well as individuals that he has sought out and conversed with via Skype about things like that.
He's got a lot of ingenuity for sure.
It does. And I'm sure that my homemade apple cider vinegar would be a huge hit, sharing it with my friends and strangers at Burning Man. Ressl is our guest today. He talks about his Burning Man 2019 experience.
Getting that report.
We get in we go on a Jurassic Park, a long conversation about Jurassic Park and this.
The ethics of bringing dinosaurs back to life.
If you enjoyed the scene in Jurassic Park where they're arguing while the slide projections are going on and they're eating Chilean sea bass, you
JJ
are really
also
going to enjoy
calls
this.
into questions George Lucas's military acumen.
Yep, I certainly do. We go all over the place on this one. It's a fun episode of JJ Meets World. I'm sure you guys are going to enjoy it. So I'm going to stop talking and let you get into this episode with our good buddy Mike Ressl.
JJ Meets World.
Mike Ressl, welcome back to the JJ Meets World podcast.
Thanks, JJ. Glad to be here again.
How was Burning Man 2019?
It was great. It was very intense. It was full of a lot of stuff.
Could you walk us through just the timeline for you? Just like give like the bullet points of what your Burning Man schedule was like from leaving Fargo to getting back to Fargo.
Yeah, I'd say it varies a little bit every year depending on where exactly we want to go on our way there or back. And we don't even necessarily know which way we're going to take on the way back, depending on how burnt out we feel or who we want to visit. So this year we took about 10 days and stopped in the Northwest and saw some friends and family up in Washington and Oregon, and then kind of spiraled our way down and made it our way into Nevada from the west side. And then the actual build is about 3 weeks, and then the event is a week, and then it takes us about 10 days to tear down, and then we take however much time we come back. This year we swung through LA on our way back and spent some time there seeing Christina's brother and all of our other Burning Man friends there, and then kind of beelined our way back to Fargo.
Okay, so that's a significant amount of time.
Yes.
When you think about it. I mean, we're talking about what, a month and a half?
At least, yeah, usually around 6 weeks. And that's all dependent on how much time either of us can swing in terms of our jobs and getting time off. So kind of try to play it a little by ear, but both have pretty flexible jobs at the moment, so that made it pretty easy.
What do your bosses think when you're like, listen, I am going to take Burning Man off, so I'm going to need to cash in all that FMLA that the government has provided me.
Right? I don't know exactly what Christina's bosses think. I know they really miss her and the work that she does. I've been working for the same gentleman for quite a long time, and I think initially I was able to describe it in a way that I didn't even really have to use the words Burning Man, because I can say I have a regional job with the Department of Public Works of Nevada, and it's very important to me. I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's kind of a price of admission if you're going to hire me. Also, if you like all the work that I do, I learn a lot out there. I get so much out of doing that every year that I don't really compromise. And I kept doing it, and now it's just sort of a namestay. And I'm able to make enough documentation and do them enough remotely that my actual boss now doesn't even notice. It's more the people immediately above me, and I have to just help train some people to fill my spot. But I am still definitely working, doing both jobs while I'm gone. And
what's the Wi-Fi situation?
The Wi-Fi. So there's a giant tower called the NOC, or the Network Operations Center. It's this area where they build a giant tower and they beam a signal all the way across the desert, a couple miles. And then they have to set up all these sub dishes that they try to beam it around the city. And it's a little different every year. Sometimes it takes them a little longer, or it's a little spotty, or you have to, deal with breaks. But we have internet. And then before all the participants arrive, I don't know how the cell towers are set up, but there's obviously a tower within range that isn't overburdened until everyone arrives, and then your signal just kind of turns to crap. But before that, yeah, I can totally make phone calls, and it's not an issue. So
the closest thing I've ever experienced to Burning Man is being out at WeFest, and
basically the same thing.
I'm sure at times, but there are certain moments during that where there just is that those cell towers are so overburdened that there is no way you're going to get a text message out.
Right.
And I remember one of the last years, I think Verizon came in and they said, we'd like to put in these temporary towers for you, like essentially that like will really beef up what we can do for you. And so they would put a tower in each campground, and they had like one of those toggle switches like Dr. Frankenstein had. And really? And then it really did improve like the Wi-Fi and stuff like that. And I think one of the reasons that they got that deal in was they wanted people going on social media and posting about it and talking about it. And if you didn't have the cell service for that, you couldn't. So your cell service would work great from like 5:15 in the morning until 7 a.m. And then it was just slowly as people started waking up, get worse and worse and worse and worse, because there's more people who are like all of a sudden now like, oh, I got to tweet this, or Jesus Christ, where did Jen end up?
Something tells me that the Wi-Fi at WeFest is like a hacker's paradise. Like, how many people are using VPNs probably when connecting to that Wi-Fi?
Oh no, yeah. I mean, almost everyone's doing it cell phone based, right? Like, so what best you're gonna get are some pictures of girls flashing and some peen pics, but people will just show you that, so you don't even have to hack. It's like, why are you wasting your time?
It used to be a lot rarer. When I first went, there used to be this camp that would build a phone booth and have a satellite connection to it, and you could just make free phone calls, and often you would see a line of people that were calling, and saying hi to their mom or whoever, and there was a very distinct boundary between when you left, and then for the whole season I wouldn't really interact with my phone. But now, over the last 5 years especially, it's been, it's much more normal to see people, especially even with the Wi-Fi and stuff like that. It's just way more normal.
Because of that, do you think that it makes Burning Man more attractive to those people who just want to go for the experience? Like, oh, I gotta just do it once.
I think, it's interesting. I saw a guy on the side of the road this year, and I stopped and talked to him because he was setting up a giant satellite dish. And I said, hey, what are you doing? He's like, my wife really wants to talk to her son while we're here. And so I'm trying to set up, and he was using he had a display that was helping him configure where to point it and everything. So I think the people that really want the connection, because of the nature of the event and the sort of self-sufficiency that's instilled in the whole ethos, people would find a way, I think, even back in the old days, probably, to do whatever they wanted, or depending on how motivated they were or what it is they were trying to do. And obviously, layers provide that for other people, like with the telephone booth or something like that. Because for our interdepartmental communications, we have a radio network. We're not relying on Wi-Fi unless it's, like spreadsheets and stuff like that. But, when I'm out there, I have a radio on me at all times, and I have access to 100 different channels for different departments if I need to talk to somebody for something really specific.
Did you talk to anyone who's planning on packing up from Burning Man and then waiting a little bit and then heading out to that alien thing near
Area 51, right? I did not. It was mostly a joke from everyone that I talked to. So no, I didn't actually get. No, and I think only like 40 people show up. Like they
ended up having like 200.
200. Okay.
But the thing is half of those people were vendors selling like pretty much what you could win at Space Aliens, a restaurant. Just be like, hey, you want an inflatable alien? We got it. And so I feel like what could have turned out to be something that was kind of cool became very unfortunate. Just, because you're talking about a bunch of like-minded people getting together. I don't think that they should storm Area 51, because I think that we would probably end up with some loss of life because the U.S. government is going to protect their base.
I don't know if you saw the video. They let the woman walk in through the gates.
Yeah.
Because from the gate to the actual facility is like 10 miles.
Right.
They were like, yeah. Well, how far are you going to go? Yeah, it wasn't going to get very far. And there are already so many other conventions, not even just in that area, but all over the western half that cater specifically to ancient aliens or, whatever crazy hairdo you want to fit and slot into, give someone a microphone to talk at people and then sell them, a plushie.
I heard a great analogy about aliens recently where you think of Route 66, right? It was one of the most traveled highways. Starting in Chicago, you end up in LA. All of these towns had explosions during that time because people needed to stop and get gas and to eat and stop overnight and all of these things. And so Route 66 put these places on the map. But as the interstate system came to be, no longer did people stop in these small towns, and a lot of them ended up dying away. Look at the plot of the movie Cars. Or don't.
I haven't seen it.
That's Michael's favorite movie.
I haven't seen it.
But what they were saying is like this person was convincing me that aliens did used to stop on Earth back in the day, but now we have an interstate system, so we don't need to stop at shitty old Earth anymore.
That really sounds like a Douglas Adams type
doesn't it?
Argument. Yeah. It really, really does. Like the interstellar highway.
Mm-hmm.
It shifted slightly, and so now we're just abandoned. We just have the remnants
have to demolish Earth.
Yeah. There's just signs everywhere that point to Earth, but they're
the only time somebody comes here is because they didn't look at their space map and they got lost on a family road trip across the cosmos.
I remember going to that movie with Brad Delzer, and he messed up and got the time for Hitch with Will Smith, which was out at the same time, and so we missed like the first 15 minutes of Hitchhiker's Guide.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Cars, and I'm like, how could he?
No, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the movie
came out at the same time Hitch did.
Yeah,
weird.
Oh,
you could totally make that mistake if you weren't paying attention.
Yeah.
What an awful
right?
mistake. And because I think that the beginning of that movie is probably the best part with the dolphin song.
Yeah, it is great. It's timeless. Yeah, the dolphins are amazing.
I saw that movie at my favorite movie theater on the planet, which is the AMC 21 East in downtown Chicago. I love that movie theater.
I haven't been. What's so special about it for you?
So for starters, it is the largest movie theater I've ever been in.
Really?
So you take 2 escalators up just to get to the ticket booth, and then you take another escalator up.
Yeah, I went there with you.
Yeah.
That's right. The place is awesome.
Yeah, I think I always take people there.
I definitely remember. I remember going up the escalators.
And they've got these giant murals of different movies throughout the era, and it's not just sort of like, oh, here's Richard Gere and Julia Roberts, but they have stuff from Casablanca. Then there's like a Mars Attacks one over here, and I always like it. The only downside is AMC does not use finely ground salt. They use regular table salt for their popcorn.
Too granular.
It is, to me. I mean, I honest to God think it is.
Or is it not granular enough?
No, it's too granular. I want the powder. I want it to be more powdery when I put my salt on. So I would bring my own salt to the AMC theater.
So prepared. Wow.
I could tell you about a million. I saw the first Medea movie there, and I think I might have been the only white person in the theater. And it amazed me because I hadn't heard anything about this Medea movie, but everybody else who was going to it was already in love with this Medea character. And when you look at like the cultural impact that the Medea films have made, it's kind of amazing.
I feel like I read about that recently, but I'm not recalling it, that Tyler Perry had created Medea before the films.
It was like almost like a stage show that he used to do.
I think so, yeah.
Because at one point, like when the first 2 Medea movies were a hit, I remember working at Take-Two Video, and they had all of the taped versions of the stage plays, which is like a one-man show of him doing Medea. So people like that. They like that sass.
What did you go see there, Tucker?
I can't remember. This would have been back in like...
I think we saw Charlie and the Chocolate Factory there.
Really?
The Johnny Depp
version?
one.
Okay.
If I'm going to... I think that's what we saw.
I'll go with it. Yeah, I really can't remember. It was a long time ago. That was like 05 or something, 04.
And because they had so many screens, they were able to show stuff you wouldn't normally, the things that would kind of get pushed aside. So I saw No Country for Old Men there, and they used it during the Chicago Film Festival. It was great. I love going to movie theaters when I'm on vacation. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah,
are there movie theaters at Burning Man?
There was a bijou for a number of years, and it was it was a smaller building, and when you went in, there was a concessions area with a very large, full size variety of candy bars and popcorn, and it was all free, obviously. And then there was a tiny door that you had to crouch and go through, and then there was kind of stadiumized seating, and there was a screen, and they would play a variety of movies. We just happened to go in, and the sound levels were off, and so the movie was too quiet. But what the best part of that is, it turned into this sort of MST3K scenario where everyone was commentating over this really old. It looks like I don't know, like Attack from not Plan 9 or something. It had that guy from the Naked Gun movies in it before.
Leslie Nielsen.
Yeah, and he was playing some space captain or something like that.
Oh, I know this movie.
I'm sure it was a famous movie.
Yeah, it's bad. Like it's so bad. It was awful. It's good.
And they went in and they brought the sound levels back up, and we all booed because the people that were everyone was just all these random strangers, right, trying to make as much fun of it as they can. It was hilarious. But yeah, they play movies all night, and that was the only time though. Otherwise, when you're walking on the street, sometimes even this year especially, I'll see giant projection screens and Star Wars is playing, or Mad Max or something, or whatever. There's some other things in the book like that, but it is kind of weird to see just walk by Star Wars. I don't know why it was enchanting enough for me this year. I just watched 5 minutes of it. I had to go back.
Which one?
It was the first one, New Hope. I had to come back and watch it all the way through because I realized I hadn't seen it in so long. And I don't know which it looked like it was one of the original editions, but.
One thing that always weirded me out about New Hope is they get medals at the end of it, and they except Chewbacca. Yeah,
he doesn't get one.
Does not get one.
I didn't think
because it wouldn't mat in his hair. They gave him a ring. He just didn't.
He walks the procession with Han and Luke, but does not get a medal.
Because even the droids get one, don't they?
No,
they don't.
Just the boys.
Okay. Just the humans. Just the humans. But
a lot of human
I always thought, like,
in Star Wars.
So hold on, wait a minute. So why does Leia get to preside over this? She's not a princess anymore. Like, if you're the land that you're the king and queen of,
she's the leader of the
disappears.
rebellion. That's what I took it as.
No,
She's still
is
their
she the
leader.
leader of the rebellion? I thought Mon Mothma was the leader of the rebellion.
She's a leading figure in the rebellion. I think in that little pocket, I mean, she's giving commands to the X-Wing fighters before they go and fight the Death Star. So
I
she's
just thought that's because she was trying to overstep her bounds.
no, she's a commander. Like she also has a position in the military in that movie.
Maybe she
think
just
she's
sees
good at
the
military
position.
stuff?
I think she's really good at it. I mean, she rises to general eventually.
Yeah, I think that's more ceremonial than anything. I mean, did you see the new movies? It's not like she's making really great strategic choices here.
Oh yeah.
That's the one thing that I think is missed from the Star Wars movie is it's blatantly obvious that none of the creators ever spent any time in any kind of military background, and so they're because it's supposed to be more naval than anything, right?
Well,
and so you don't see any of these like these things that you would see like happening with naval like battles.
Right, because obviously we had Richard Edlund on the show, who was the VFX guy for those movies, and he had a naval background. You wouldn't consider that part of the military? The Navy's part of the military.
No, but I don't think that he had to make the shots that were told to him. He didn't get to go in and be like, okay, so they should come in this type of formation, and I don't think that there was a lot of. What am I trying to say here? I don't think that George Lucas knows anything about battle strategy, which is why when he's like, "Oh, okay, let's do the prequels, and in this we're gonna have all the droids walk in these lines. It's a battle type that we only did because we wanted to sacrifice bodies back in the day and just try and overwhelm another force, and so we'll just go with that rather than saying like, okay, let's be strategic." I don't think there's any strategery in the Star Wars films.
Maybe it's the Gungans' fault.
It might be. It might be.
They're
It
poor
might
fighters.
be.
I mean, we watched the Gungans and the Trade Federation, and I think those are two groups of morons. So maybe they're just really bad at it.
Yeah, you have like the Walmart robots and the swamp people kind of like
Yeah,
trying to mix.
Walmart robots.
Yeah. Just smashing them together. I always assumed it was just what looked the best is you need a straight line of troops so you can get the most lasers on the screen.
Ooh, yeah.
And it looked cool. And the things roll, the rolling ones, the ones that just roll and crush things. Yeah.
Yeah, the droid decars is that what they call
Yeah,
them?
I can never understand exactly how they're pronouncing it. Droid Dakar, something. I don't know.
I have the last time I saw Phantom Menace is when they're like, we're gonna re-release every Star Wars film in 3D, and I thought, oh, awesome, okay, because I had just seen The Lion King in 3D, and they had made amazing choices with the animated Lion King re-release in 3D. Like they chose in the scene where it's Simba's like running through the rain, they made the rain be like the 3D portion of it, and so you weren't looking at a depth of that. They were actually bringing something towards you in a little way. It was great. It was so good.
I remember going to see with you Nightmare Before Christmas in 3D.
Oh, yeah.
And there were some choices they made where I was like, why? Like you'd have two characters in profile looking at each other, and one would be in the extreme foreground and the other in the extreme background. It made zero sense. But that was the 3D technology hadn't come a long way at that point yet.
I think that movie is the one that spurned the re-love of 3D, because they were doing a Nightmare on Christmas 3D it was like an annual re-release years before we started doing the 3D process that we see nowadays, like with real 3D. Because remember, we had to wear like actual 3D old style 3D glasses when we went to Nightmare, not the fun digital ones.
It's weird though, like now with the advent of VR, it just seems to me like 3D is just something I'm not interested in at all.
Mm-hmm.
I would rather watch a movie recreated in VR from a static position, but then because when you're watching a 3D movie, there's still the frame of the screen, right? So everything still ends at some point, and that cuts away the illusion for me. Part of it breaks it a bit. But if I could see like Simba's running and the rain is falling all around me while he's running, that would be pretty sweet.
I did have a friend bring a camera this year. I can't remember what model it was, but it just looks like two little eyeglasses on a stick, and it's for taking 3D video.
Right.
It still has the limitation though, where you can't move when you're watching the video in VR, because you can look around a little bit. It's only doing 180 degrees, but you can't like assert a sort of depth with any agency. Everything still looks 3-dimensional. Doesn't look, the quality isn't quite as great because for whatever reason those cameras, that's just limitation. I haven't even seen anything in VR though that I think has the fidelity that I think we're used to with traditional movies that could even make me consider watching anything, much less replace. There's still a gap there, I think. So but I'm not into 3D movies in general anyway. I kind of avoid them.
Neither am I.
Yeah. I think it peaked with Harold and Kumar 3, and that was after that it was all kind of downhill. I haven't seen any movies do it with such a self-aware shtick where they try to, put the most insane things that they can in 3D. It's usually being transferred or, people are winning.
I think that's the issue. Like, to me, when I think of 3D, I want stuff that's going to like come out of me. So in Disney World, they have Muppet Vision 3D, which is Jim Henson's last project, which was this like the Kermit's walking you around and saying like, we've invented this Muppet Vision, aspect. And at one point, like a giant ladder swings out at you. And it's amazing because it's 4D is what it is, because they actually have like real or animatronic like Muppet penguins who play in the orchestra, and Statler and Waldorf are animatronics up in the balcony. So you're looking in the balcony and then you're looking on screen and they're talking to each other. It's a fully immersive feel. And then someone in a Sweetums costume comes out and rips through the screen.
Sweetums is my favorite Muppet. Sweetums is my absolutely favorite Muppet. Now I really want to go see that. I wish I could.
Which one is Sweetums? I don't remember.
He's the giant monster looking. He looks like he looks like Animal, but at 9 feet tall. Basically.
Okay. It's been 20 years since I went and saw that, but I remember seeing it for the first time and thinking, "Wow, this is amazing."
Yeah, right. And he is a sweetheart, right? Like he's considered like a nice guy.
Yeah,
right. He looks like a monster.
He originally was put together for the Frog Prince, where he played the witch's like henchman.
That's right.
And he has like a song about bashing the froggy in. And then after that, like his first appearance and then he was in the Muppet Show a lot. Like he's even in the opening like sequence. And then they started using him in the Muppet movie. He works at Madman Mooney's car shop, and they invite him to come with. And he's like, "Oh, great!" And then he runs away, and they're like, "Oh, I guess he doesn't want to come." And then he runs across America to follow them.
Well, again, he has to leave the dealership because he accidentally discounts a car by a lot of money because he kills a fly right at the spot where it creates a period.
$500, but he hits it, and then it becomes $5. And they were going to give him like $5.15 for the trade-in for this. It's like, we'll take that one right there for $5. You owe us 15 cents.
What's interesting is that format is basically what has taken over and become the base bar for theme park rides all over. We went to Universal Studios on our way back because they just redid the Jurassic Park ride and made it Jurassic World. And Christina's in love with the dinosaurs and I can't remember the name of the big fish one. It starts with an M.
Mosasaurus.
Yeah, she would shun me for not remembering the name. But that one's not 4D, but all of the other new rides, because they just converted that one from a water park. It's you're in a giant thing and it splashes water on you, right?
It's actually, I remember going on that ride years ago, thinking like, okay, so they really were kind of lazy a little bit because you're in this river in the original. I haven't been on the Jurassic World one, but you're in this riverboat and they're like, we're going to take you through the beauty of Jurassic Park. And then at one point there's a thing where like, a log has fallen. And so then you end up going on this separate track, which is the utility track for like how like they get stuff into the paddocks. Right. And then, the dinosaurs have escaped. And so you're going through this thing. And rather than saying like, hey guys, get the hell out of the boat, they're just like, sit tight. Womp, womp, womp. That's pretty good though.
Yep. And then, there's a T-Rex. Yep.
Did you see did one of like the live raptor displays that they do?
They did have that going on. Yeah, we definitely saw that. It's that both. I think we saw 2 or 3 of the different puppets or performance actors they have that people can go and get in a line and get pictures with. So fascinating how, because you have to, it's that kind of look at it. I'm trying to figure out in my mind, what is he using to control the parts of it?
Like, did he have his arm way extended out, like working a set of gears?
He must have levers because it's so far out. There's no way I think he could be articulating all those parts of it. And the same with the one that was even more impressive was the Optimus Prime one, because his Voice sounded exactly the same, and he could bend over, and if he made any movements where he accentuated his body, it would automatically play an accompanying sound. And all of his body parts sounded different, and they were great.
I like that.
The other impressive one was they had I can't remember the donkey from Shrek. I think it's Chris Rock.
No, it's Eddie Murphy.
It's Eddie Murphy. Okay. This Chinese tourist came up, and he started talking in Chinese and saying things to the tourist in that language, and just the super quick improvisation was fascinating to watch.
So not recently, probably 8 years ago now, I went to a wedding in Florida, and I was like, I want to go to Disney World. Would anyone like to come with me? And Jill, I think, was a little reluctant to it, but in Epcot they have this thing called like Hang Out with Crush, who's one of the turtles from Finding Nemo. And what it is, it's a fully 3D, a fully like the computer generated like 3D looking environment where you're in an aquarium and Crush like swims up in front of it, and like it tells you a little bit about the ocean, but then people can ask questions to Crush. So they bring a little microphone over and little kids can be like, what's your favorite movie? And then that rendered creature looks directly at the person who asked the questions, like, whoa, good question, like little chick. And like, by the way, I like your Mickey Mouse shirt. And he goes, like, my favorite movie is this. And it's the same voice. It's it obviously, like, there's some kind of a screen, but there's no lag in it. And it's not like you're watching the same, like, 30 frames over and over again.
Looping. There's no
it's
processing.
just, he's moving around, and like somebody will say something on the other side and he'll move his head over to where it's supposed to be. It's like the next generation of puppetry, but it's completely animated and it's 100% interactive. And it's meant for children, but it blew my friggin' mind when I saw it.
That sounds awesome. Just the opportunity to interact with any of those characters, because they're all so distinct and unique, right?
Right.
Yeah. It's unfortunately you have to. There's such a bottleneck because there's no way everyone could be met, and some of those costumes have to be so, expensive. Whereas that, it's just I'm sure the limitation of like, well, so how did it like surround you? Like, how big was the screen?
So think about going into an actual aquarium and like being in the downstairs part where you can see like this into it.
Yeah.
So I mean, it probably housed like 60 people, but there were probably like 5 versions of that screen somewhere, and it didn't even look like it was projected. Like you look behind and there's no projection system. So I don't know if they were using some kind of actual screen technology or if it's rear projected in some way, but it blew my mind to see that. And if it's I didn't see any cameras, and I didn't see any, they're so clever about hiding stuff like that.
Yeah, that's like exactly what they do, right? Yeah, that was kind of what they did with is it the Megalodon? Is that, whatever. I'm probably not saying it right.
That sounds right, I think.
But they didn't want to make a giant one because it's so much bigger than every other dinosaur, even the ones they'd already built. So it is a digital, spoilers for the Jurassic World ride, the first 30 seconds, but it's a giant aquarium that you go through, and there are giant displays, and it tries to, it breaks the glass on one of them, breaks the glass, and then water shoots out, so it looks real enough.
Just he did finger quotes. You couldn't see him do that, but just that's what
it breaks the glass.
Finger quote breaks the glass.
Because it's just the digital image of glass being broken, but you can hear it, you can feel it. It's crossing a little bit of the uncanny valley there, but yeah, it was great. I guess in hindsight, I was like, oh, of course they weren't going to build this giant animatronic fish that overshadowed the entire ride, but this is good enough. And and they added a whole bunch of other stuff. But then the notion is still like, you're stuck in the boat and we need to get you out of here before the dinosaurs eat you.
I'm pretty sure it's the Mosasaurus.
Mosasaurus?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure like that's what it is.
Almost certain that's not it. But
I'm pretty sure we're talking about the giant one that they feed like a shark to in Jurassic World, right?
The one
that's swimming in the giant tank, right?
I think so. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it's the Mosasaurus.
I don't know.
They're like,
I think Tucker, maybe Tucker can decide
Tucker,
this for us.
Would you please use the internet to look at this?
JJ's right.
It's
a Mosasaurus.
It's a Mosasaurus.
Yep.
I'm gonna have to come back on that. Oh,
still don't believe it.
Well, Christina just bought a tooth of the actual dinosaur as like a necklace, And so I heard the name again like a week ago. Whatever. I'm probably wrong.
Well, I mean, there was a megalodon as well, so she could be talking about.
I'm pretty sure that's not it either. So.
Yeah, based on the movie The Meg is based off a megalodon, but in the Jurassic World films, it's a mosasaurus.
Well, it's possible. I don't know how the terms work. Maybe a mosasaurus is a megalodon.
Ooh.
Maybe or vice versa. It's possible.
When it comes down to it, my knowledge of dinosaurs begins and ends with what I know from Jurassic Park.
Right on.
So if there's no such thing as a Dilophosaurus and it doesn't actually spit poison tar, I don't know much about it then.
Well, it also supposedly like the since Jurassic Park came out, we've learned more about velociraptors and how they looked.
Sure.
And so the velociraptors in Jurassic Park are like a specialized version made for the movie. But I think last I checked, I mean, I haven't really stayed up to date on this for a while, was that raptors were probably much smaller, had feathers on them.
Kind of turkey-like when you see like a turkey run.
I think so, yeah. Mm-hmm. Between a turkey and a small man.
What do you think about, okay, so let's take the premise of Jurassic Park real quick.
Sure.
What do you think about that? What do you think about man recreating something that has died off the planet using a technology that in some way has to bastardize the creation of it?
You mean like in not letting them reproduce is the bastardization part?
Or they make them lycium deficient. They also have to, crossbreed with DNA from frogs to fill in the gene sequencing gaps. So, because you're never going to be able to create something that's 100% pure.
Right. Well, right? Presumably, right. I don't know.
At this point.
Yes. I don't know. I don't think, at least with this, in this day and age, there would be any stopping it. But I mean, obviously that is a caricature of what could go wrong, but also what could be possible because we're not, we don't quite have the ability to just make some crazy chimera of anything and smash it together. But I would imagine there's just so much potential in there that they would probably, the first thing they'd probably experiment with would be humans. I don't think they would even necessarily be as interested in making the next theme park, but I don't know.
They would just, are you saying they would make human dinosaur hybrids? Is that what you're saying?
No, not necessarily. I mean, I think.
Side note, that was the original plot of Jurassic Park 4.
Yep.
Just trying to make humans better or live longer, essentially, and maybe then applying that to trying to mess with other species. But I think the enchanting aspects of those creatures and the scale at which they just existed I think that's timeless. I think, yes, at some point, some rich billionaire is going to be like, hey, I want my own velociraptor, and can you put it over there, please? Yeah.
I think it's going to be the guy who owns Virgin Atlantic. He's going to be the one who wants it.
Richard Branson.
The only moral quandary I would have about bringing an extinct species back to life would be as long as we know that we can care for them in some way, right? Like we're not just bringing them and just like, all right, well, good luck, throwing them out into the wild or something.
Yeah.
Especially if it's a species that humans hunted to extinction. Like if it was a species that wasn't naturally selected for, but was merely just obliterated, like the dodo. I'd be 100%, but I would also be 100% cool with seeing a T-Rex as long as we can think of the steps that come after it. Like the steps leading up to it, I think are kind of mostly solved, except, they'd have to do some, engineering to maybe fill in gap sequences and stuff, but
we'll just put you in a giant ball and then you can roll around.
Right.
You'll be fine.
Right.
Yeah.
I take the Ian Malcolm approach. My dinosaurs had their time. It's past. Like, I don't think we would gain anything by reproducing a dinosaur because no matter what, anything we'd learn from them would be tainted because their existence in modern age, it would never be the same as it was during the, it wasn't even the Jurassic era that they were here, right? It was the Triassic.
A lot of the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park come from different epochs. Yeah, for sure.
So to me, it's like, oh, well, we'll learn so much about, how these creatures moved and interacted. Be like, nope, we won't. We won't. Just like if you brought a dodo back today, you wouldn't be able to really know what it was like for them because they lived in a time that was mostly unsettled.
But hold on, Jay. Do you remember in Jurassic Park when Dr. Alan Grant goes, they're moving in herds? They do move in herds. See, he learned something right there for sure. They were able to confirm that those dinosaurs moved in herds. So you can't say that we wouldn't learn anything because clearly we see him learn something.
First of all, we don't know if they move in herds because they're being chased by something.
Well, that's later. Early on, he sees them move in herds.
Right. And then all of a sudden, then the T-Rex shows up.
That's later.
But no, it's when he sees them moving in herds and the flock is moving and coming towards them, and then the T-Rex comes out of like
You're
the
combining
side.
two scenes. So
No, but then the T-Rex comes out. What's to say that they didn't get spooked by a predator already, and so that's how they ran?
Because
the same way the wildebeest all run from the hyena in Lion King.
They're not running; they're moving up to the water. Though, when he says that, it's when he first discovers there are dinosaurs in this island, and he says they're moving in herds. They do move in herds. They're not being chased by a predator at that moment. Then it's later that when they're watching them all run, and then that's when the T-Rex comes out.
You're right. My bad. Look, because he's talking about the Gallimimus, like they're like a flock. Like look how they move like a flock.
Yeah,
you're right.
Yep.
You're right.
They're like ostriches, basically.
Yeah, and you never see a Gallimimus again. Like those, they have a shit ton of them for some reason. Like, why would you need 70 of this one dinosaur?
Yeah, that's true because they're not breeding. On their
really
own, so
poking some plot holes into these things. Also, they never talk about how they bring the plants back to life. Like Ellie, when she's concentrating on that like particular plant, like this shouldn't be here. They never talk about like bringing the plants back to life. I'm sure there's a botanist out there who's like, that's what I would have been interested in.
They had a different ball of amber with like a caterpillar in it that had bitten the leaf of this poisonous plant. Yeah,
I would assume it would be like dino droppings that had seeds in them.
Like
a dinosaur ate a plant and then pooped some of the seeds out, and then that poop got petrified or whatever, and they were able to dig the seeds out.
There need to be like a whole room full of the little things encased in amber, and there's the whole row of dinosaur poop. That's all the special plants.
Yep.
I also remember somebody calling bullshit on the amount of poop that the Stegosaurus or the Triceratops poops out. They're like, the size of this pile does not equal the size of the Triceratops.
I assumed it was like stallions where they all poop on top of each other's poop. And that was the freshest poop is obviously on the top, but
I did not know that about stallions.
Yeah, because we were out camping in the desert and there were wild horses, and you come across what is obviously way too much poop, and there's no other poop, and you're like, okay, and I learned, yes, apparently stallions will poop on top of each other's poop.
Why do they do that?
I think it's like a marking sort of. They want their poop to permeate the area.
So in my head, I'm picturing a bunch of stallions at once backing their asses up together and pooping. What you're saying is someone would have pooped, another stallion would have come along, seen that pooped on top of it, wash, rinse, and repeat. And it just kept happening.
Yes, the latter version, yeah.
I mean, we do that as human beings.
Right. It is I was picturing a collective action on that.
Like a line, like a waiting in a line.
Like they're being ecologically sensitive. And they're like, we shouldn't be putting our poop all over this desert, you guys. Let's pick a spot and we'll just poop on top of poop.
Have you ever heard the term horse apple?
Yeah.
No.
It's for saying like you're touching like a horse apple.
Oh.
You stepped in it.
Mm-hmm. Nope, I heard that.
Yeah. I have only been able to use that term organically once in conversation.
I picture you at Burning Man on a night where you have no responsibilities, everyone's partying, you get some Molly or some anything that's just going to make you real happy. You're going to strip naked. You're going to start walking out into the desert, and you will find yourself face to face with a stallion whom you will start communing with, and he will let you ride him bareback through the desert, and then they won't see you for a couple of days. And then you'll show up and you'll have tamed a whole army of horses that are coming with you.
I'm just part of the herd.
You've learned their language, and now they're with you.
Oh, that does sound magical. Yeah, unfortunately, they don't come around. They do hang out on the shoreline, but they are wild. Like they get spooked. We were walking actually, and we came up on one. We got really close to it, and just seeing the reaction from a wild animal that is not used to being around humans and wants to get the fuck out of there. But he stopped and just stared at us for a while after he ran. And
he could fuck you up if you wanted to.
Probably. But
I remember as a boy, I had a brilliant, just like cream-colored stallion, and I would go on these adventures and ride them all the time. And one time I was tasked by a princess to stop a creature that was leading forth the destruction of our land, and I made the foolish mistake to ride my beautiful horse Artax through a swamp, and he got sucked in, and this giant turtle got all mouthy with me.
Do you know how I watched that movie for the first time? My cousin Ben said to my sister and I, "Do you guys like horses?"
Oh,
and we said, "Yeah!" And he put that movie in.
Oh yeah, just yeah. Disregard how it dies, right? Wow,
that is
Good
one of the
movie,
most
though.
horrific deaths I think I've ever seen in a movie, because that horse is getting like drug all the way down. I don't know how they got that one past PETA. Must have made that in the Ukraine or something.
Yeah.
Like that. Mike, what's your favorite food?
my favorite food.
Yeah, because you're one of those guys who I'm like, I don't know.
You know, it's probably Everest Tikka House. So I eat there like probably 4 or 5 times a week.
For the uninitiated, that's Indian food.
Yes, Indian food.
Nepalese?
It's Himalayan, which quote unquote, which I didn't realize until I started eating a lot of quote unquote Indian food. That they're
More air quotes.
Yeah, wow.
Generally, it doesn't, for me, it doesn't seem as spiced or salty or seasoned in general, but almost, I think, indecipherable in other ways from other Indian food. So, I've been eating there for a number of years. And
Do you have a favorite dish?
I mean, I eat a lot of tikka masala and saag, which is spinach and paneer and rice. I mean, I could eat rice every meal though, I think. So
I'm super bummed out that I've got this cold right now because I would be going to eat Indian food with Ressl and some friends.
Right.
Normally on a Sunday. But yeah, that place is bonkers good.
yeah, they do an amazing job. Probably that.
They make gobi Manchurian with shrimp in it, which is like a spicy cauliflower dish.
Okay.
That'll just, I mean, you'll see whatever deity you believe in when you try it. It's so
Satan.
freaking good. Yeah.
I'll see Satan.
Be like, you made a good choice today. I recently had a long conversation with somebody about Indian food, and they're like, well, I don't like Indian food. And I'm like, well, have you really tried it? And they're like, yeah. Well, tell me what you've tried.
Yeah. What did they have?
Because listen, there was a little while where I didn't like Chinese food because I was trying the wrong stuff. I was trying the things I thought, oh, I like chicken, I'll like this. I did not care for some of those chicken dishes. So their answer was like, well, I had like the red chicken wings. I'm like, okay, so like tandoori chicken, but like, did you enjoy anything else with it? Did you just try that?
Right.
Were you expecting to get something,
Yep.
That's the thing is, I think the problem is that in our minds, we're like, the flavor will be this. And then when we get
right.
something that's opposite, we automatically go, that's not good.
Yeah, you really got to just not have any expectations, I think.
Yeah, I mean, like if it's Chinese food, I'm usually looking for orange chicken. That's usually what I'm looking for. And yeah, it's hit or miss with where the places that you get. It's not like McDonald's where every Chinese place tastes exactly the same.
Where do you think is the best Chinese in Fargo?
My favorite is King House. Does that mean it's the best? I don't know. I think they all get served by the same like distributor of, I think it's just called Asian Food Distribution or something like that. You see the truck all over town and it serves all of the Chinese buffets. My favorite is King House though, because they'll always have lemon chicken and orange chicken and like
So you want citrusy chicken is what you're looking for.
citrusy chicken is awesome. And also honey chicken.
I make, you know how people make beer butt chicken where you cook it with beer?
Yeah.
I cook mine with Fresca.
Ooh.
I like it.
So it's sweet.
Sweet.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's sweet, and
That
it
would
uses
be
a lot of
good.
that citrus flavor.
That would be good.
I'll have you over for Fresca chicken one day.
Yes.
The only problem is I have to buy a whole 6-pack of Fresca.
I'll
and
buy
then-
the Fresca. If
Oh,
you're making
sold.
it,
Sold.
I'll buy the Fresca.
You got it. Ressl, what about you? Best Chinese in Fargo?
Man, that's a tough one.
Fargo, Moorhead, West Fargo.
Because I like being in King House, but I don't think it's the best Chinese food. But again, I don't like seek out the Chinese food in Fargo now that
Now that you're into Indian
well, I
food.
pretty much only eat Indian food or Thai or Vietnamese, and so the Chinese food's way at the bottom. I guess the thing I feel like I've eaten at all of them. I would eat at King House, but
I mean, Jade Dragon is great, but they list as having, they've got Chinese, they've got Thai, they've got Vietnamese. They have like a number of Asian style dishes.
I associate them more with Vietnamese because that's what most people, or that's what we usually
pho.
get when we're there. Yeah, but
Their orange chicken is phenomenal.
Is it?
It is.
Great. Oh, that's usually where I would bring people for the good mix.
Their beef and broccoli, top notch over there at Jade Dragon. So my thing is that I like stuff at each of them. So like Snapdragon in Moorhead, I think has a great buffet, but their almond cream wontons are bullshit. I don't like them. I think they're too sweet.
I love them.
No, yeah, don't like
They're
them.
too sweet. Okay, good.
Yeah, because they always catch
delicious.
me off guard because I'm like, oh, the wontons. No, I should not
They're
be.
delicious.
But then, like, they don't do their soups very well at Snapdragon, right? So then I'm like, okay, so if I want, like, egg drop soup to be a part of it, it's not going to be King House. But the lobster roll at King House is one of my favorite. But lately, I've been into the Great Wall. You guys ever go there?
Never.
It's on South University Drive. It's not a buffet. It's classic Chinese food. Like I'll have a C1 and an R15.
Sure.
But it's been there since I was a little kid.
Yeah, it's been
and
there a
it's in
long
the
time.
same strip mall as Dwayne's House of Pizza is. So it's right over by my house. It's like a mom and pop. It's a couple. They work all the hours together. I've never seen another employee in there.
I might hit that for my take-home lunch today.
They make everything when you order it. There's nothing that's pre-made. Their wonton soup is my current jam in Fargo.
Okay.
Oh my God, it's so good. I love it. I feel like it could cure you what you've got going on.
It might be able to.
But here's the thing: when you get it, you have to wait to eat it because it comes. Like they just boiled the broth and put the wontons
Super
in,
fresh.
so like it's too hot to eat.
So to kind of tie this back into the Burning Man 2019 report.
Oh, I can't wait to hear how this goes.
I'm curious, like,
How do you make that?
what can you eat when you're at Burning Man? How do you seek out food? It's only what you bring yourself? Do people set up things where you can go and buy food? How does that work?
And I don't know. It's very rare that I meet someone that doesn't come prepared, or and they have food that they eat. But
yeah, no one really gets tricked into going to Burning Man, right?
right, and it's camping under. Really, that's when we boil it down to. You're just camping in the desert. But as far as something that people will offer to other people, yeah, food is way up there, and so it's rare to hear stories about people who will suddenly walk into a fine dining tent, but
Anyone selling burritos out of backpacks?
no, I haven't quite run over those yet.
Good.
No.
Never accept a burrito that comes out of someone's backpack.
But I do, because I'm staff, we obviously have a different situation. So it's like a mess hall, essentially, a giant buffet, 3 meals a day. And then the camp that I build has its own kitchen, and they rotate cooks every day. And they can do more elaborate things because they have a shit ton of money, but they also, it's just a smaller kitchen. And so they can and the chefs are kind of all trying to outdo each other. So you get really elaborate but amazing things. The other thing is there's something about just being in a desert setting and your body is processing so many fluids to begin with, and it reacts so much more strongly to anything that has liquid or is food. It just tastes better for whatever reason. But so you're not running around the street finding full course meals, but there's like a camp that just gives away grilled cheese from midnight to 5 a.m. Or
Is it tough for them not to get all sandy and dusty?
I mean the dust isn't just like blowing and drying gusts 24 hours a day, but when there's a storm hitting, I have seen an entire buffet of fancy food get
Hold on one
covered
second.
in
That's
dust.
not a real garbage. They told me we got to take our garbage out.
Oh,
Sorry.
just a false image of a garbage.
Well, they've got a big metal garbage can that looks like an Oscar the Grouch garbage can.
Yeah.
And we've been using it, and then they're like, oh, it's not, we don't use this as a garbage can.
Weird.
I'm like, okay.
What else are you using it as?
Right. And there's no other garbage in here. So today I picked up everything that was in there and I put it in the bathroom garbage. They don't have rules like that at Burning Man, do they?
Yeah. There are any garbage cans, except when there are, and then you have to know whose it is and all that shit. But obviously, they're
How does refuse get handled at Burning Man?
it's just like you're describing. Is you whatever you bring is your responsibility, and we call it pack it in, pack it out. When things scale is when it gets complicated. So let's say you and 30 of your friends want to go. It doesn't make sense for everyone to have their own little personal garbage can. You've got to set up some system, and then when that scales even higher, and you got 300 people. We have sort of a department just for what we call transfer, and everyone has to work together to pre-sort and know what they can and can't bring there and what the hours are. And then they have these giant dumpsters. There's like 30 of them, and they're all for specific things. And then whatever we can burn, we usually burn.
I mean, is there a lot of what's it called when you put organic material together? Composting?
Like compost? There is, and there are specifically huge dumpsters just for it. And the compost is different because you have to hand bring it in. And it, I've spent many of hours, shoveling piles of food deeper into a giant cave, essentially. Yeah, some of those, it's interesting to figure out how they all work, but you would have no idea. You don't normally see those, and they're not, everything is controlled access and stuff like that. At the smaller scale, it's all very self-organized, and still a bunch of stuff gets left. I mean, stuff or blows around. That's why there's a giant fence around the whole thing. And every morning someone drives around that entire fence and looks and makes sure the fence is still there and picks up whatever that's blown into it.
Do you ever worry about wild hogs?
Just, getting loose and,
attacking the camp.
Yeah. Well, so I was in Austin, Texas not so long ago, and they said, yep, the wild hogs move in herds, just like brontosaurus. And, they'll like, it doesn't matter how high your fence is, it doesn't matter what you do, like they'll bust through it and they'll eat everything in your yard, and they'll trample down like gazebos, and it's like 200 of them, like these feral wild hogs. And so they said they move throughout like these deserty kind of areas, and they kind of try and follow water.
Yeah,
do you guys ever have wild
stories?
hogs?
No, I don't have anything that. I think it's probably too dry out there. The sources of water are too scant. I think you're more likely to get killed by a scorpion or something else that's smaller with venom,
like snakes?
like a snake's, yeah, than like a herd of
See, I don't like
tiny
snakes,
pigs.
so the desert's not my jam.
That's why we call him Indiana Jones.
Just gotta wear a good pair of boots and look where you're stepping. You're probably fine.
Bullshit.
Bring a stick.
Like you put your feet in the bottom of a friggin' knapsack, because that's how I'd walk around, is knapsack feet.
Yep.
They're in the bottom of there. They get into plumbing. Well, my ultimate fear is, what my number one fear is, Mike?
What?
So a snake coming out of a toilet and biting me on the scrotum or the ass.
Why would the snake be in there? Why would it be in there?
Good question, but it's scary, isn't it?
Yeah, that's
Here's the
terrifying.
thing.
There are stories.
Yeah. And it started from the old Trollwood in North Fargo. Is I hated using the bathroom there because I thought it's a park bathroom and snakes live in the park. So if there's going to be one toilet that's going to have a snake in it, so I always check to see, and I'm just worried because I'm at my most vulnerable.
It's true.
It's like when a
all
giraffe
day.
is drinking in the savannah. Like that's at its most vulnerable.
Yep.
It could easily be picked off by a predator.
Yeah.
And JJ could easily be picked off by a snake if he's pooping and it comes up from underneath.
And then someone will send me a story about somebody who I had to get rid of my snake, so I flushed it down the toilet and it lived in the pipes. Or they're pulling out, like this 12-foot long cobra out of a giant toilet system in a high rise. And I'm like, nope, that sounds awful. And I get those on my Facebook wall once a month.
Wow.
With video sometimes, and I'm too terrified. I'm like, well, I guess I can't check my Facebook wall today.
Yeah, it's like they're calling out to you. Yeah, I mean,
Snake in a toilet.
Constrictor snake probably not gonna bite you.
Here's the thing. Do you like going in hot tubs?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
A toilet is a hot tub to a snake.
Interesting because we have hot springs out there and we go sit in and they're just open, right? So anything could crawl in there and hang out. So I doubt anyone's ever found a snake in them, but yeah.
Number 2, a beaver biting off my wiener.
A beaver.
While I'm skinny
You need
dipping.
a special screen that you put down or something, man. Because I don't know if you're ever going to be totally impervious.
And here's the thing. I'm not afraid of it in a pool. I'll skinny dip in a pool all day long. But when I get into a lake, I'm a little worried. I'm like,
Oh, that'd be perfect to plug up my dam.
you never know.
I'm going to take that with me right now.
I mean, what do they call? They call it wood. And what do beavers chew up?
Wood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those are my real life fears. So it makes me not a great person to float around in a lake by myself, especially if there's if I see ripples in the water and be like, I don't care what that is. It's probably coming to bite me in my Johnson.
I stay out of natural bodies of water just in general as a rule.
Do you really?
I do. I just don't like them. I go to my lake cabin every summer, but I fish. I don't go swimming. I don't like feeling like a piece of, seaweed or whatever brush up against you. There's snapping turtles in the lake, fish fart in it. Like, I just don't want to be in there. I don't have
Fish farts. That's what you're worried about?
Yeah. Have you never seen Salute Your Shorts?
I have. I don't remember that particular.
There's a very specific joke that's always stuck with me. What was the sort of redheaded kid who was kind of had a bad attitude?
Yeah. Not Bundy, not Bunko.
Bunk?
No.
Well, he wanted
the
to go
mean kid.
He wanted to go swim in a pool, and someone said, "Why don't you go just swim in the lake?" And he said, "Because fish fart in it."
Which is a parody of the old W.C. Fields. He's a comedian from the early era of silent and speaking films. But he constantly was drinking. He was known for his red nose and rosy cheeks because he was always drunk. And he was taking a swig out of a flask. And a reporter said, Mr. Fields, why don't you ever drink water? And he takes this painfully long time. He goes, because fish shit in it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's funny having been to your lake house, and now I'm realizing now I've never seen you swim in the lake.
Mm-hmm.
So,
right?
Yep.
When this interview was arranged, I was thinking about an experience at my lake cabin where I came up, and you were always the earliest one to rise out of everybody who was there.
That's right.
And you would grab whatever kind of book was around, and you'd amuse yourself. And it was constantly like my mom's like really shitty dime store, like, giant chest, like muscular chested men and women, like my grandma called them historical fictions, but really they were just, they were little sexy time books. But I remember you reading one of those, and I remember you sitting at the kitchen table and talking with my mom and being like, this kid gets up so much earlier than the rest of us.
I read an entire book once, just sitting in the hallway. I remember it was The Illusions of a Reluctant Messiah. I think that's what it was.
That makes so much sense because for a while, Ressl lived with some friends of ours in this blue house. This was the heyday of World of Warcraft. So all these kids, they had like a big LAN set up in the living room. And Ressl lived in a closet there. And just laid on the ground. But also, Ressl lives an austere life. Like, he does not own a bed. Do you know that? Do you know he sleeps on the ground?
Really? Every night?
Yeah.
So that makes it easy because you can sleep anywhere then, right?
I can, and my bed is as big as the room. Yes.
When we would travel for poker night, usually we would get room together.
Yep.
And within seconds of entering the room, Ressl will have taken the mattress. Well, no, not the mattress. Will have taken all the blankets and sheets off of his bed and put them on the ground next to the bed. And then he would oftentimes just take the mattress to create like a room divider so he'd have a little more privacy.
Sometimes I would take the bed frame apart
Yeah.
and then have a much larger room. But not every hospital makes that easier. Sometimes they're actually
Hospital?
Sorry.
Yeah,
hotel.
you guys are booking into hospitals.
It was weird. Sometimes we just had to go with it. Cheaper rates.
Right. Make it feasible to actually dismantle the furniture. But yeah. No, it's just about the firmness of the bed, and most beds are way too soft for me.
And I loved it because I would look over and see no one in the next bed and be like, oh, I've got this room to myself.
So, like, why not just build like a platform?
And elevate it.
Yeah.
It just seems redundant.
God, you'd have to vacuum so much.
Well, you don't walk on your bed. Like, you walk around it still, right? Or you roll up the blanket.
So you establish an area that this is bed.
Yeah, it never moves. Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know. I have quite a few people stay at my place and use it, but I don't. No one seems to mind. I guess they put up with it. It's like camping, just slightly more cool.
Christina Ree.
No. So I host couch surfers,
and they sleep on the floor.
Yeah, I invite them if they want to sleep in my bed because what I actually do, I don't do it how most couch surfers do, where you actually stay with them in the house. I say, hey, if I'm gonna go stay with my girlfriend who's 6 blocks away, you can just have the apartment to yourself, and then I'm not in the other room, and I have this other place that I'm gonna stay anyway, so I give them the whole apartment. And I've hosted many people, and for whatever reason, it doesn't ever come up. Well, maybe because they just feel grateful to have the place. That's kind of how couch surfing is. But yeah, no one ever seems to mind, I guess. But I remember getting the idea, and my bed, when I lived in an attic when I was in junior high.
Yep.
And I elevated the bed and slept under the bed, and it was like this warm cave. And I just, then people would come stay over, and I'd let them sleep in the bed, and I'd sleep on the floor. And
Ressl was also known as the kid in high school who would sleep during class, and he would just crash at his desk, just arms crossed, head down, asleep all the time. And so he was known as this kid who could just kind of, like, he can sleep on a rock underwater if he really needs to. He has that ability.
Mostly just saving energy for, when things were actually going to happen that I could handle paying attention to. So
I think it's your superpower, right? Being able to sleep anywhere. Because if you ever talk to someone who can't sleep anywhere, their lives are miserable.
Oh, sounds awful.
You put me in a plane, 2 seconds later I can be asleep. You put me in the back seat of a Toyota Tercel, I can fall asleep there.
Yeah, I wish that worked like that for me.
My mom would talk about taking the vacuum cleaner, and sometimes I'd be crying, and so she would take the vacuum cleaner, turn it on, stand it next to my crib, and I would calm down and go to bed. Because just the sound, or like your parents, like they would put you in the car and drive around the block a couple times and you'd pass out. Yeah.
Interesting.
My room was at the end of the hallway, and the most soothing thing in the world to me is hearing the dryer go whoom, 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 whoom. And there are times when like I will just turn on like the spin cycle on it, or like, the fluff cycle, and it'll put me to bed in 2 seconds. I love it. It's the most comforting sound ever. If I owned a laundromat, I'd never get anything done. It'd be sleepy times all the time.
So the only place I do have trouble sleeping is at Burning Man, because we camp in a tent, and a lot of our neighbors camp in tents. And so you have this communal kind of people that you maybe know or maybe don't know at all, and you're just meeting them that year, making whatever noises, and everyone is on different schedules, because some people are working and some people aren't. And then you have, once the event starts, you have this other layer of insanity and just constant bass like emanating from 2 parts of the city, because they try to push all the sound camps to the edges, but you can still hear like everything that's going on. And earplugs usually do it, but they're not comfortable, and they don't always work depending on what's going on. And this year in particular, we had a gentleman that just played music 24/7, and sometimes he would leave and it would just be on repeat, and you'd be listening to the same song for like 2 hours. Yeah, oh man, just wanted to break into that tent so many times.
Do you remember what the song was? Like, was it just some instrumental?
I wasn't familiar. It was kind of like an 80s sad song, and I didn't know what it was.
Oh, so he's working through some stuff.
Maybe he apologized profusely when he came back and said he didn't mean to be gone that long or to have that on repeat, but the damage was done. So yeah, and some people, they just stay up constantly listening to whatever.
Damage was done.
Or people come and hang out because there's like areas to hang out in all sort of the big giant pods that we have. But yeah, you just have to. It reminds me of being in my college years and dealing with your friends that the party is still going and it is just in the other room, and it's your fault for going to bed early or not being able to stay up later. So
I will not name names, but one of these individuals was a previous guest on JJ Meets World. I remember being, it was when I was living in Chicago, and so I had come home for Christmas, and so I was staying at my mom's house, and this friend of mine came back to my mom's house with a girl, and I was giving them like every excuse possible to kind of like, like you guys just, like hang out here, but the girl was like, no, let's watch a movie, and they wanted to watch Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, which I love that movie. So I sit there and I'm watching it, and I'm finally like, I gotta go to sleep. So I go upstairs to my room, which is right next to a guest room, and then I hear them getting busy in the guest room, and I hear, do you think you can fit another in there? And I was like, I gotta put something on. So I opened up my computer. Computer was dead.
No.
And so I was like, okay, maybe my phone. And my phone had, like, the service was just so crappy. There's really nothing I could, like, stream. And so I started just singing to myself, like, whatever song I could think of at the time, because I'm hearing this, like, from the other room. And it was the only time I've actually had to get up and go pound, 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 pound on the door, because I wanted to be like, come on, guys. Like,
it was just taking that long? I just
don't want to be a part of it. I don't want to be a part of what's going on.
And there were no other rooms.
Why in your house?
That's a good question. Like, why not go back to her apartment? maybe because she felt safe with another party there, or maybe that's what she was into. Maybe it's what he was into. Well, he definitely just didn't give a shit about anybody. And it was awful. And so the next day, I remember talking to him being like, well, I heard everything.
Good or not, I can tell you I've been utterly desensitized to hearing other people have sex at this point because it happens so much. And it
Burning Man?
Yeah. And just in the nature of our living situation, it's still weird. And sometimes you want it to stop. And other times you're like, well, that's kind of interesting. Because I didn't imagine, because you have to imagine that person having sex. And you're like, yeah, I don't need to focus on that right now. I just need to go to bed. But
You learn stuff about them. You hear what they're saying. Like, put on this football helmet.
That's not the tank top I bought you. I remember, so tents can be like, you can get really, really tiny tents that are not meant to like even sit up in.
Yeah.
And so watching where a situation where clearly somebody is on top and then watching a head like press against the top of the tent over and over and over again. That is something that at first you kind of look and you're like, well, what's going on? Is there some trouble going over there? And like, oh, I understand what's happening. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Making love in a place where just a thin piece of fabric separates you and the outside world is
it's the veneer of privacy.
Yes.
It makes me incredibly self-conscious, but other people, not so much. I don't think they care. Yep.
I've been to many a Dave Matthews concert where that is something that definitely is like kind of like a little badge of honor. Like you can tell like, oh, you want other people to know what's going on here. Like that's part of
No, they totally get off on it. Yep. Yeah. In this situation, it's just, you're just living there for weeks on end. It's like, it's just going to happen probably, Yeah. Or during the event, people are just doing it, out in the open sometimes. You just have to deal with that.
I was dating a girl and we were getting busy in my basement, where my bedroom was the whole basement in high school. And we finished up and she went to clean herself up in the bathroom. And I walked upstairs because I was going to get us a glass of water because I'm a gentleman. And out of nowhere, I see our friend Sean, and I'm like, oh, hey. And he goes, and then because like we both know, and then out of nowhere, Jake Harchie steps around the corner. He goes, hey, dude. And I said, well, what's going on? And
why are they there?
And Sean goes, we were walking by and we heard a scream and we thought that maybe someone was in trouble. So the front door wasn't locked. And I was like,
Perfect. That's so they hung around,
right? Like, how long have you been in here? And like, the odds of them like coming in and maybe walking downstairs and like walking in on it were incredibly likely.
So they were super embarrassed. I'm sure.
I don't think that they were more embarrassed, but my girlfriend
chosen
at the time,
to not stay there.
Yeah, right. Like, or said like, listen, let's. If you heard some noise of moving downstairs, you think I'm gonna friggin' hide right now because also you just committed a B&E.
Yeah, that's true.
So yeah, that was
B&E?
Breaking and entering.
Oh. Yeah.
Don't watch enough heist films, do you?
Apparently not. Yeah.
Yeah, people do a dime for B&E.
10 years, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's harsh.
No one calls it a nickel though, huh? Like I did a nickel in San Quentin.
I mean, if you do 5 years.
But I mean, I've never heard that term. I hear a dime, but I've
never heard anyone directly say that either to me. It's always
done
been
a
in
dime?
movies. Yeah.
Oh, I imagine real criminals say dime all the time.
Does anyone say I did a penny? What was this there for a penny?
Nothing to brag about. Yeah.
I did a Lincoln. I spent a copper for punching a copper. Mike Ressl, it's always a pleasure to have you on the JJ Meets World
Thank you,
podcast.
JJ. Yeah, it's great to be here.
You can go back and listen to previous episodes. What is this? Is this your fourth appearance?
Fourth.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we're up to 4 now.
Also, Ressl produces a video every year after Burning Man where he kind of talks more in depth about some stuff he did. This time it's you and puppets.
I've done puppets before, and I don't think I could do it without puppets now because honestly, I don't even have to post the video. It's worth it just hanging out with my friends who, shove their arms in these weird things. And yeah, we talk about it. Try to sort of assuage the eternal question that I get 100 times, which is how was Burning Man? And
If someone wanted to find it on YouTube, what could they search for?
Yeah, I think you could just search, "Hey Cougar Bait, how was Burning Man?"
Cougar Bait is Ressl's nickname on the playa.
Yes. Yep.
Because the Cougars like you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Yep. And I'm a piece of meat. So yes. Yep.
Good.
Thrown to the animals.
Well, it was good having you again, Cougar Bait.
I think JJ is great. Yeah.
A huge thanks to Natalie Deutsch of Hatch Realty for sponsoring this podcast. Folks, if you're looking to buy or sell a home, contact Natalie Deutsch today, because Natalie Deutsch is not only a previous podcast guest, she's somebody who's going to care enough to sell your property for top dollar. She's also going to find you the best price possible if you're purchasing a new home. Last year on average, Natalie earned her clients $4,000 over list price on their homes and sold them faster than the market average. On average, Natalie's selling a home every 3.74 days. That's 2 homes a week. Those numbers don't lie. Find out why Natalie is one of the top agents in this entire market. Get a hold of her today, Natalie at hatchrealtyfm.com. You can also call 701-388-9338 or go on to livefargomoorhead.com. That's livefargomoorhead.com. Read all of her amazing reviews and then listen to her episode of JJ Meets World. Thanks again to Natalie Deutsch of Hatch Realty. That's going to wrap it up for today's show. If you enjoyed this episode of JJ Meets World and would like to help us continue to produce 2 new episodes every week, you can donate to our Patreon. Check out patreon.com/JJ Meets World and donate today. Even as little as $1 a month can go a long way. Visit our website at www.jjmeetsworld.com or hit up our social media. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all the sites the kids are using these days. If you'd like to stay up to date on new episodes of JJ Meets World, you can find us on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, YouTube, or wherever you consume the podcast that you love. JJ Meets World is produced every week by Tucker Lucas. You can find out more about Tucker's work by checking out www.moonbasemaria.com. If you want to get in touch with your host with the most, go to linebenders.com and you can find direct contact info for JJ. If I was going to make a new version of Jurassic Park, I'd call it Jurassic Pork, and I would crossbreed pigs with dinosaurs. So imagine like a giant T-Rex, but he's got a pig snout.